That seems like that ought to be perfect. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's a yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're popping SEPAs like they're going out of style. Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's like you feel like you have to go back there to get to. Yeah, well, exactly. And okay. Nope, I just mhm.
Good morning.
Morning, Michael.
Hey, how are you, Ed?
Good.
I see your name, but
Okay.
I'm a real master of the obvious.
Yep. Okay. Thanks, George. Bye. Already. Bye.
But I don't have anything concrete.
So you'll get the video momentarily there. It's
There you go.
yeah. I was on the phone with George.
Oh, okay, no problem.
He just called about something that he needed to follow up with me on and said, I forgot to do it before I sent the email. He told me I would.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Hey, George, how are you?
Good morning.
Good. Good morning, Ed. Good to
Mhm.
talk to you again.
Yeah.
I made that cup of coffee I was threatening to make. Yeah. Whew. Feels like Monday. I know it's Tuesday,
Yeah.
but how's everybody doing?
Good, I guess. You know,
You got
I know I keep asking you, George. I know I'm a pest and I keep asking you questions, George, so I apologize in advance.
Mike, you don't have to you don't have to apologize ever.
Okay.
I appreciate the prompts and you got my response this morning.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry
got it. Thank you. Appreciate that.
yesterday was an interesting day. So sometimes when you're juggling bowling balls, one of them it's heavier
Yeah, I
than the
got you.
others.
Appreciate that.
Phil, how are you? Joseph,
Good
Steve,
morning, good morning.
how's everyone doing?
Good
Pretty
morning.
good.
Any better? I think it's illegal.
No.
Lucky man. Lucky man. Mr. Duke,
Mr. Sandman.
how are you?
Sandman. Wasn't that a song, George?
There are several.
Yeah, Enter the
All about
Sandman.
Steve?
Enter the Sandman. So my kids, when they played sports, you can imagine, especially Jack, who was captain of the hockey team, that would come on all the time. And he was one of the top scorers.
Well, that was what's his name's theme song, the closer for the Yankees.
Was it?
Mariano Rivera. When he come out of the bullpen, they would play that song. Who was that? Metallica?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. So they would play that song because he was he lights out when he was coming into.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, so what's your walk-on song then?
What's that?
What's your walk-on song?
I don't have any walk-ons. I mean, send in the clowns. That's my walk.
You know what song never fails to get me fired up? It comes, so the gym has Pandora, right? So it's kind of the same music goes round and round. And when AC/DC Thunder comes on, everyone in the place, regardless of age, you can see the heads going, you know.
Yeah,
So,
gotcha.
yeah, man. Walk-on songs. I like that, Phil.
Well, I was at an event last week, and that was one of the questions for the panelists. And that day, I just heard earlier on Sirius XM, there's a station called Deep Tracks,
Yep.
and I hear things I've never heard before. So it was Willie Nelson, Snoop Dogg, and Chris Christopherson singing "Roll Me Up and Smoke Me When I Die."
There you go. There's a trio for you. I like that. That is a great question for the beginning of a mastermind.
Yeah, what's your walk-on song?
What's your
Yeah.
walk-on song? I like that. You'd have to have some warning. You get some funny answers, I'm sure.
I think Star Wars would be one too, like the opening, the Star Wars.
Great one. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones.
Well, I think it was at Oscars I was watching, and they had Harrison Ford, and so they played the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, yeah.
Star Wars, I think it was Star Wars, and he goes, "Everywhere I go, they play that." He goes, "I went for my colonoscopy and they played that."
It's in your head, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
Larry, Joe, Barry, good morning, guys.
Good morning, good morning.
Morning.
So what's on everyone's mind?
Well, I mean, can you give us an update on the, I think you were working on, last time we spoke, right? The Clarity One tool had the financial element,
Yep.
what's the status of
And,
that? Is that, I'm sorry.
It is, let me check right now, see if I have up to the moment. So I had a meeting with the guys on Sunday and on Monday, and we are this close. If you go in and look at it, you'll see that it's almost there. We're adding commas and making sure that formatting is the same, but it's functionally is there. And so I'll put a note out to the community as when they release it, when the final release is made to production. But it's a cool tool. The simulator is, it's working well. It's funny, Mike, that you ask. So the next iteration of the manuscript I turned in yesterday at 11 a.m. And who was I talking to? The last word I typed in it, I was working on the preface, was the word immortal, period, which is, this concept of the immortal business that maybe I like more than others, but I really like that. And I delivered it. And in this penultimate go through of the manuscript, I used the lifestyle, the equity value planner to run Diane Ridge to just back check. I want to make sure that all the pieces of the book tie together, and to back check Diane Ridge's growth conversation against her goals. And I was very pleased that it nailed it, which is what we're aiming for. So that'll be, and then we're working on, Joseph, I know this is near and dear to your heart, the level 2 deep analysis.
Yes.
And Joseph, I took our most recent conversation. So Joseph and I had a sidebar, and that was a very, very valuable conversation. Like Larry, Joseph said, George, just don't make it too complicated. Okay. Just don't be you.
Yeah, I know.
So not simple, but very approachable. So Joseph, I think you'll be pleased with the way, where I took that conversation in the context of that level 2 analysis. So guys, like the level 1, level 2 has 4 options, many of which we don't want the meeting to be boring. And it doesn't work for all the questions to say sort of true, partly true, not so true, and false. But there's a version of that that I applied, and
So
And
George, I'm on the dashboard now, right?
Sure.
And I don't, that piece that you're speaking of, the equity, I'm sorry, the financial projection, what's that called where you project the money?
the lifestyle, so if you go onto your dashboard, you'll see any report that you filled, there's the far left button says lifestyle calculator. And if you click on
Oh,
that,
I
you'll
gotcha.
somewhat complete, mostly complete, but it's not,
Gotcha.
I don't want to waste anyone's time saying, hey, go in and check it out. It's not done.
Okay.
done.
All right.
So,
Gotcha.
but
I
the
see it.
calculations work, the pro forma works. And then, so
So, George, when I saw that initially, I part of the calculation, I thought left out other goals that weren't there, like legacy goals or
Hmm.
major purchases. And then, but you do have a slot for paying off debt, which
Yes.
is an accumulation need, right? So
Yeah.
in addition to that, though, I think there are other accumulations that need to be factored into what's the walkaway number, right?
Sure. And the tool won't be all things to all people. What it's designed to do is to have a conversation about.
Correct.
And now it could create it should create a number that we could then put into a Monte Carlo and start
Correct.
taking those other, there's real wealth. This is not a wealth planning tool. It's a
Correct.
future value need tool. And,
No, well, I
I
gotta
know
take this call. I
Sure.
gotta take this call. It's the IRS. I'll be on.
Wow. I was hoping it was Raquel Welch. Oh, no, she's
George-
dead. Well, that would be even more interesting. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, where on the dashboard is the equity planning tool?
So if you just look at any one of your clients, so if you come up to the dashboard, click on reports, and you'll see, on for every given client going left to right, lifestyle planner, range of values, something, and then edit. And sorry, not a lot of sleep, but getting a lot done. And here, I'll tell you right now. Go back. Yeah. Oh, view PDF. Guys, ignore the PDFs for right now. That's something we're dealing with this week. So now I've lost this meeting. Yeah, so Clarity continues to charge forward. And guys are using it, right? Larry, I know you've used it with success. Barry used it to have a very interesting conversation. I think Ed and Joe, you guys have used it as well. Steve, have you used it in a live conversation with a client?
Nothing live yet.
Okay. How about you, Joseph?
Not until we get to level 2.
Focus. I like it.
A quick learning for me, when the gentleman who took the level 1 on his own, his score was for growth capacity was a 37. And I know his business well. This is not a prospect. I'm testing it with current clients.
Cool.
And I said, that's not, he runs better business than that. So we reviewed every question, and his score is really a 60. So you capture anyone at any given point in time on how they're feeling about themselves and their business, they might score differently than another time. There is that sense of how you're feeling about yourself and your business that can skew results. And so I challenged him, we went over every question, and we spent quality time because it helped him understand holistically his whole business better as well. And then when we redid it, it was a 60. And then we pinpointed. So when someone scores a 37, the report's going to show for killers almost everything.
Yeah.
That's impractical. It's not prioritizing. You score a 60, now you have a few to work on. They can have a deeper conversation on. Or when Joseph and I get excited with level 2, then we can take a deep dive into those aspects of level 2 as well.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like I'm sandbagging, and I don't mean to be, but pretty handy to be able to go back and change the answers, right?
Well, I like the versatility. So compared to other tools or a previous tool that had lacked versatility in its utility, this does. So we could go back and easily change the answers, and you can have an easy discussion in real time around this. The previous tool did not do that.
Yeah.
And I think, George, the same with the level 2, when we take the deep dive, that we can go into aspects of it and have a deeper conversation and have that flexibility, like in level 1, that would be great. But
Yeah.
very flexible to be able to do that and see the report in real time together, how it changes.
Yeah.
And last practice that I learned is defining strategic capacity and growth capacity. And the person asking, what does this mean? What's the difference? And be able to explain. And when you see the dimension 1, 2, and 3 score,
Mhm.
that is different than a strategic capacity, growth capacity, value capacity score, which is pulling from all 3 levels for each. And they
Yeah.
are different. So they don't line up those scores
That's
purposefully.
purposefully. Yeah. Yep. Steve, you were starting to say?
Yeah, either I got distracted or you got distracted, but could you go back and talk about Joseph's favorite topic a little bit more?
Level 2?
Yeah, level 2.
Sure.
Is there another favorite topic that Joseph has?
There are lots of them, I'm quite sure. But in this
Making money.
rubric,
In this context, though.
um,
So were you saying that some questions have multiple choice answers and others don't? Is that?
they all have options, okay? And some, as Joseph pointed out, are binary, right? Some are binary. Most of them have nuances. And so you either, let's just use, it's either completely true and you have data to prove it. It's partly true. Yeah, I don't even know if I have it open. I just pick one, out of the blue. There's senior leadership meets regularly. So the key result under an effective senior leadership team is that senior leadership team meets regularly to review and discuss progress towards the shareholder goals. Right. Senior leadership meets weekly and keeps reports. And that's can be more true than not, mostly false or not true. And it's as you can imagine, you can't just take one in a vacuum. So sometimes, these are gears in the business engine, as we all know. So there are other factors. What you will be able to do, Steve, is say, okay, well, if you're interested in stabilizing, creating predictable cash flow, you do a level 2 on the first dimension, and that analysis is going to generate insights, reports, data. So you can go as deep as you want. You can go as deep as you want. You can do 1, 2, or all 3. And because it's 100, recognizing that it's 156 questions, we're going to get some market experience as to the length of time that takes. If we think, if you think 1 minute per question, that becomes a long meeting. But it gives us a very detailed analysis. And it could be that it doesn't, there are some things there are some areas where you will be able to move through with the client without much discussion because it's very clear. We'll just call it binary. In other areas, it's more nuanced and there will be more discussion. And that's discussion that you want to have as the advisor, to really understand what's going on. Does that make sense, Steve?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks for the additional information.
Sure. I can't wait to have a version to kick around this group. And we are working diligently on it.
Yeah, neither can Joseph and I.
Hey, Larry. Hey, good morning, Barry.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good, man. Good. It looks like they're going to spring us. I'll be back home, probably not till Saturday, but we are. So I'm in a good mood. Yeah. What else? What else is going on? There's a lot going on out there.
Let
in
me
the world.
ask, what's the opinion of McDonald's closing the corporate headquarters in order to make mass layoffs and do them virtually instead of in person?
Fascinating. That's a great question.
Well, Phil, a lot of companies are laying people off virtually or even just by a letter.
Mhm.
Starbucks just did that too. There was some, I think 60 Minutes or somebody had a thing on that.
Well, I can understand when somebody is in a remote job, but closing headquarters and telling everybody not to come in and taking care of it that way, is that the new trend?
Now hey guys, surprise, we're gonna turn the lights back on and let's see who's still in the room.
Well, where are they moving the headquarters to, Phil?
They're not moving, they just closed for 3 days
Oh, for 3 days.
in order to make layoffs, and then they're going to reopen. So they're going to do the layoffs, my understanding, they do the layoffs virtually. And then whoever is left gets to come back to the office.
So,
Well, that's a testament to the great culture that the company must have.
ouch, probably true.
I'm back from the IRS help. It's just no nightmare.
I'm sorry, Mike.
I apologize. What was your social security number, sir?
Hold on one second. My
So,
social security number?
wait, Mike, you're not muted.
He is
muted
now.
Yeah, he is now. Good. We don't all need to know that. This is going to be posted. Hey, you know what's interesting? I'd love to know who their outside management consultants are on this matter. You know that they're going to have management consultants, PR, integrated PR, and then that'll probably be integrated with legal, right? And of course the accountants, because that's why they're doing the layoffs. But I'd be interested to see who that team is. It'll be, you're right, Phil. That's going to be fascinating to watch play out. I feel for the people who are losing their jobs.
Yeah, I wasn't going to use the word fascinating as the best adjective, but I hear you.
Sorry.
What's your adjective?
Yeah, a bit of a geek. Yeah.
So George, I had a great, no, anyway, the IRS is just consistently bad. But anyway, going back, I had a question when I was filling out, I was going through this survey, the Clarity One report.
Sure.
Sometimes when I would run it, I see that little dial about business value being completed, and sometimes it was blank. What causes it to turn on and off, or is it?
It takes a little lag. It's just the load on the system. So
Okay,
just that one is a bigger calculation. So that's not a very complicated conversation, but there's a little lag in the system. The guys are on it. You'll notice go down and down.
Okay, gotcha.
So, but that's it. But because it always populates, but sometimes you're like, huh, where's there it comes.
Yeah, right. I
So,
saw that.
yeah.
And then so when the client fills this out, when you send a link to someone who fills this out, they don't get I just want to get this straight in my head. They don't get a copy of it. They can see it right there. So they don't need to get an email, but then you ask for their email. So
You definitely, yes. So that's a great question. So if we think in terms of, so we have the initial client interview, right? It's designed to be used face-to-face with the client.
correct.
One of the interim steps to making it more marketing friendly is to make the business information optional. So if we make the business information, that's getting gross revenues, net revenues, the business name. At this point, they've already given us their email address, right? So we have their survey captured. We have their email address captured. They get to the business information page and they say, nah, and we make that optional. Okay. We then click next. They're going to get a report. They won't get a business, the where are you? We'll have their value capacity. We just won't have any numbers on which to crunch to calculate a value, but we still have a very useful report, and you still have generated a good lead. So, and I would qualify, someone who completes the survey and does the let's think in terms of what we have, right? What do we know? They complete the survey and give us their personal information. At that point, we also have the report. If they fill in the business information, we know we have someone who's engaged, right? Who is willing to provide information. If we look at, let me pull it up, file, open, recent, where are you? There it is. I'm going to share my screen here for a sec. Something you have all seen, I'm sure ad nauseum. Can you guys see this? Essentially, it's a modified Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So if we have someone that comes to our website, this is adapted from a marketing company's interpretation of the Maslow. I need to put a proper footnote here, but this just for our purposes, the footnote's in the book. They come to our website, if they're cold and they've just done a search and your website came up as part of that search, we're down here. We need to make sure we're communicating that we're relevant to them. All right. So at what point are they going to be willing to give you their closely held information that they often won't even be sharing with their senior team, right? So we need to move them up the ladder of trust. So if we're doing this live, which is obviously what this slide was designed to support, this is the growth conversation. We're going to use techniques like Ford. We're going to talk about personal professional goals. We're going to do clarity, strategic capacity analysis, the equity planning piece, and try to get them to this point. Now, where would a person be? And I'm doing this on the fly, right? But if we think of someone who comes to your website and they start completing the survey, thumbs up, right? There's a willingness. We're starting to move them into, up the trust. And if you have someone who's willing to put in their financial information, I think that is an indication of trust and therefore an indication of commitment to continuing the process, which is why I would say they're a highly qualified lead. If we look at, let me pause sharing here for a moment and open up file, open, tell me that you're going to find, oh, come on. Give me one. There we go. So is this? Yes. All right. I'm going to resume sharing. So if we think in terms of a buyer's journey, this is an upcoming webinar. We think in terms of the buyer's journey, the person who is, so let's just focus on this qualifying line right here. So on the buyer's journey, they've come to your website and we want them to complete. What information do we need them to have? What confidence, trust do we need them to have to provide closely held revenue information? We're kind of here at the research stage. I'm interested. This is a person who is shown a willingness to communicate at a level. I'd be picking up the phone and calling them as like now, as immediately. If you see someone, call them in the moment. So this is a complicated sales process. It's not complicated. It's a very simple sales process, but you're seeing a lot of information. Mike, go ahead.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So if someone clicks on this link, the link to fill out this clarity tool and completes it, it goes to my dashboard. That's what I've seen. But how do I know that is there like an email I get that says, hey, someone's completed this tool?
Yeah. So AWS has established an even higher bar for systems that are hosted on their platform being able to send emails. And we are busy going through their due diligence process to say, listen, this is not spam. We're not going to be sending thousands of emails. We're going to be sending only emails to people who have given us permission to send them an email. And that is a process. So as soon as we can send an email from from growth-capacity.com, we will be able to mask that to be coming from Desiato Consulting, Desiato Advisors, actually business transition specialists. Sorry, Mike.
That's okay.
And,
No,
and you'll be off to the races. In the interim, what we've done is hit pause on sending those automated emails. So
I'm sorry. So what I think, let me understand what you're telling me. So when someone fills this out, if I send them a link, they fill it out.
Yep.
I know when I did it just for a test, just for playing around with it, when every time I filled it out, it would appear on my dashboard.
yes,
Right. But if someone else fills it out, you're telling, I guess I hear you saying is that eventually the system will send me an email saying someone has filled out the clarity, blah, blah, blah report. And I can go back and look at it. Okay.
yes,
Got it. So
yes.
let me ask you this, because I was talking to my social media consultants the other day, and these are young kids, right? So these kids are in their late 20s, early 30s. And I showed them this tool. I showed them this assessment, and they said to me, Mike, no one's going to do that. They're not going to answer 24 questions online. It's too long. That's what they told me. And I go, whoa, really? I go, yeah,
Whoa.
they're just, what they suggested, I'm just throwing this out, is they said, can you break this down to like maybe 4 or 5 or 6 questions, and then just show one little measurement, just like, okay, you answer these questions, here's your strategic growth potential. And then once they fill that, and that there's no numbers, there's no, there's no financial data shared. But yeah, they're kind of saying, yeah, I'm interested, but I'm not going to I'm not opening the kimono up. I'm not giving you numbers and anything like that. So they suggested that would be the first little thing that they would fill out. And then once you got that, then you could schedule a Zoom call or a meeting with them and say, then you can walk through this with them, right? To kind of bring them up now that they feel comfortable with you. And then you can do this. And then you go on to, then that leads into clarity too. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And this is when you come to a fork in the road, take it. So
Yeah.
we have an initial client interview that's designed for us to use face-to-face with a client. The first pass at the marketing version will ask the exact same questions, 25 of them, but give summary information that's emailed straight to the client with you getting notification, right? With the intent being to then get them into a more complete, like, hey, let me show you what I can see about your business.
Right.
Okay. So they're coming at it. I would make 2 points. One, their advice is good advice from a pure marketing. If they're looking at purely as a social media marketing strategy, it is good advice. I would temper their enthusiasm by saying, if you look at a tool like Rocket Fuel, how many questions are on the Rocket Fuel? Like 40 or so? That analysis, which couldn't be any different than what we're doing, but just as an analysis, that analysis is incredibly valuable and is widely adopted. You got a couple of other meetings, Steve? There he goes. And has a great track record of success. So what are they suggesting the tool do? And if they're suggesting from a marketing perspective, it sounds like, and guys, you all have some marketing experience, that the tool helps helps people that are simply that have no low or no interest in your services because they don't know why they care, and move them up to where they might become leads, and then move them maybe in the lead process to somewhere close to marketing qualified lead, or maybe even to create a marketing qualified lead. Great advice. That's not where we are today. Today we're going to assume that someone has come to your website and has specific interest in there's some reason that they're on their website and they have an itch they're trying to scratch. And we're trying to help you connect yourself as the guide to a solution. Does that make sense? It's complicated.
But you're so again, I guess you're not going to come up with a shorter version of this for marketing.
Sure, we can down the road. That's not the intent right now. I have
okay, I got you.
hyper focused
No, I got you.
level 1 initial client interview. the equity planner, level 2.
I got you.
Senior
Understood. But you
leadership
know what?
alignment. Yep.
You know, there's this website, and I wrote it down. I don't remember, but you can create your own little assessments on this
Yeah.
with the school. And I could take 5 or 6 questions that basically you ask here, and
Sure.
and come up with a little score that people could fill out. But that could be the lead in, you know,
Sure.
to another more robust meeting. Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Well,
absolutely.
Mike, you could look at just dimension number 1 on profitability and cash
Right.
flow.
Right, you can just do a
Questions. People
short
will
little
answer
thing.
8.
Short little thing with a little dial, and it says, "Oh, this is where you are," and that may, and then you could say, well, if you want a more in-depth analysis and you want to have a call, book a call with me, book a call on Calendly with me, and then I will talk about this, and then we can go through a deeper dive together. You know,
Mhm.
if you want to do that.
So Michael, I
Maybe
think
the
this is
bigger
interesting.
challenge is what you were saying before, George, with the personal, the business information. When you
Right.
start giving numbers to,
Right.
and you look at Rocket Fuel, it's 40 questions. It's well organized. You see the whole grid, all the questions. You can fill them out quickly. Everyone, I recommend giving it a try. Pick a client in your mind and try Rocket Fuel assessment. It goes quick, but you don't have to give personal information in terms of business
That's
so
correct.
yeah.
And in fact, yeah, I mean, that's a great little assessment, which was just purchased by EOS for, I'm sure, a not inconsiderable amount of money. I mean, it's not just the rocket fuel, it's the whole, that whole body of IP. But anyway, Joseph, you were starting to say?
Yeah, if I can find the article, I will certainly share it and post it. But the information that I have that has a lot of data supporting it is that while maybe 4 or 5 years ago, there was this hesitation to engage with consultants and coaches, that has totally transformed. Business owners today are aware and they understand that they need a coach or a consultant to work with them. And they're very proactive doing the research.
Interesting.
So in other words, they're actually going out, looking at different websites, looking up people's LinkedIn profiles, seeing if they have referrals. They're doing the work and the research to figure out by the time they come to you and they're going to do some type of assessment to begin engaged, they're already very much interested because they're looking for someone. So it's not clear to me that the 40 questions or 50 questions is really going to be an issue. Obviously, if you do 100, 200 questions, that's way too much for them to get an initial assessment as to whether or not they'd like to work with you. But they are going to look at the initial engagement as a reflection of the quality of work that you're capable of producing. So I think quite the opposite. I think they're going to go to 4, 5, 6 different websites and coaches and try out their initial assessment to see what the work product is going to be. So that's number one. Number two, quite frankly, anybody that is driven by social media and immediate and quick response is not going to be a good client for me. So I would never do a 4 or 5 question engagement. And in fact, I want the opposite. I want the more I can make it, the more I can make it complete and robust without getting into a deep dive, the better it is, because that's going to tell me that they're interested and they're engaged, not someone who's just going to come to my website. I just as an aside, I usually take the assessments and I embed them on my website as an iframe. And I use Zoho on my back end. I use Sales IQ. So when someone's actually on my website doing the assessment, it pops up and lets me know that someone's actually doing the assessment right now, and I can engage with them in a live chat.
Wow.
Either myself or someone on my team can engage with them on a live chat. So we have ways of deciding who we want to engage with and who we don't want to, because we often get a lot of engagement from people outside of the United States. But people who land on our website in the United States, once they're on the website, it lets us know that they're there, where they're progressing on the web pages. When they get to the assessment, they start the assessment. We can engage with them directly and let them know. This whatever the conversation that we have is typically, if you're a business owner and you really want to get some clarity, this is something that you might want to look at. There's X number of questions. And we tell them up front that no financial information is really required in the initial assessment. But if they'd like to dive a little bit deeper, here's a link to set up a call, or, once they get the report and they've had a look at it, they'll obviously get a link to have a call follow-up. So you can engage with them actually while they're actually doing the assessment. You don't need to wait for it to be completed.
Absolutely. And let me pile onto that. I love that, Joseph. Great. That's great information. And Clarity, haven't released it yet, guys, but APIs to HubSpot, which means that API. So Joseph will be able to write a Zapier and API it to his Zoho. And by APIing to HubSpot, you're going to have that exact functionality in your CRM. So Joseph has it in his CRM. So your CRM will believe me, will give you instructions. Boom. Ed's on your website. Ed is doing X, and we use, anyhow, there's sophisticated technology out there that can support it. But there's a line, there's a line that Growth Drive, there's a field that Growth Drive plays on and a field that we don't play on. And we are not becoming a marketing agency. We will provide marketing collateral, tools that can be used for marketing, white papers, email campaigns, etc. But with a big but, we are not going to hold, we can't get into the game of being a marketing agency. Now you'll see aligned marketing agencies pop up. We have 2, arguably 3 already. But I'm mindful that business development is obviously top of mind for all of us. And to the extent that within our vision and mission, we can support that, we will.
I have a question. How successful has this group been in recruiting clients through their website or a social media venue? Okay.
I have pretty good success,
Do
actually.
you?
Good.
What do you do that's different than most other people to attract them?
I think number one is the messaging that I have on my landing page is very specific and very clear. Again, you guys have talked about it using the story brand approach. I have that embedded in all the different URLs. But I think more than that, I don't really give it directly to, I don't use an email sequence, so to speak, to reach out to thousands of business owners. I use it for my centers of influence, and they hand it out. So if they come up with someone, again, I work with M&A advisors, so they know they have something come up with that comes up to them and says, oh, you know what, you're really not ready to sell yet. You might want to speak to Joe. Here's his website. He's got this free assessment that'll tell you what you need to do to get up to speed pretty quickly. And they'll come to the website and they'll take it from there. I do get a lot of referrals from LinkedIn, but often the ones that come from social media or unrelated parties are usually not worth much of anything.
But the key thing I just heard from you, Joseph, is that you get a lot of referrals through M&A advisors that will tell their clients to go see Joe on
Their prospects,
initial engagement. But what I'm talking about is just anybody out of the blue coming and looking at your website or social media. And
so those are less than 10% of the clients that I end up with. They do happen. It's not they don't happen. They do happen, but they're less than 10%.
the ones that just come and just that aren't referred to your website.
Correct.
Okay, that's been
So fascinating. Go ahead, Barry. Sorry.
well. I mean, it's the website. People will tend, I believe, that people, including myself at one point, will tend to rely on their website to attract business or social media to attract business. But there's nothing better than that one-to-one conversation on the phone or in person that gets business.
Yeah, Barry, I think people confuse marketing B2B and B2C.
Yeah.
Right. They're two different animals. I mean, you can still structure it like you're doing a B2C, because I think people, when they want to look out to find out who you are and what you represent and what your your services, your packages are like. They really want a place to go to. And they will look at your website. They will look at your website. They will look at your LinkedIn profile. They will do their research. But that's not necessarily how they'll start to engage with you. But people often, again, people in the professional services business often think that they could put together a B2C type of website and end up with flow. It's highly unlikely.
Exactly, exactly.
And I'd add, so Joseph, you just used almost the exact same statistic. I was just talking to a guy who has a very, very successful firm. He does most of the valuations for the SBA, right? Super, super successful firm. 91% since 1986, and he tracks this stuff since 1986. 91% of revenues have come from referrals. 9% not, which tracks exactly against Joseph's stat. So when we're thinking in terms of who we're talking to, where we're going after, where we're going to focus our energy for business development, and let that be our guide. And it also underscores the importance of working to develop, as Joseph, it sounds like as many of us have, right? Strategic COIs. Who is going to be an ongoing source of referrals, and with whom I collaborate? Now, they don't just hand them off and say, vaya con Dios. With whom we're going to collaborate. And there's actually, we prepared Barry was part of this. We prepared a qualifier. When you're looking at a COI or a referral partner, what qualification, what characteristics does a strategic COI have? And that goes to pricing, the message, to synergy of services, et cetera. That's something I will find, clean up, and publish in Circle if it isn't there already. Someone will hold me responsible. I know I'll be hearing from Mike on that.
I think part of the problem is that in terms of the messaging that we deliver to people is that because we're so interested in building our business and bringing in a lot of flow, that the messaging tends to be not very niche or not very narrow and specific. But the fact of the matter is, the more narrow and specific you can make your message, and the centers of influence that you work with, the better it's going to be. I mean, again, you don't want, for example, a broad spectrum of accountants. You might want accountants that specifically work with healthcare facilities, in the Northeast. The more you can actually narrow it down, you'd be surprised how quickly you can build that network, because they all know each other in that space. And the minute one of them starts to work with you, the other ones will find out pretty quick. And then soon enough, they're all working with you. But if you go to just accountants in general, I mean, they often have no connection. They don't see each other. They don't know each other. They're whatever. I mean, the more niche you can make it, the better it is. It works a lot better and a lot quicker.
Joseph, I'm in violent agreement with that comment, and what your colleagues report back, and I'd love your thoughts on this, is they niche themselves. When advisors niche themselves pretty narrowly, the phone will still ring. I only work with medical practitioners who are podiatrists, veterinarians, and dentists. That's what I do. And suddenly the phone rings, and it's someone who's, it's a little law firm that says, I'm none of those things, but I have the problem you're describing. Can you help me? Now you have a highly qualified, you don't care that they're outside of you may not care that they're outside of your niche. You care about being able to solve a problem for which your expertise and systems are optimized. Is that happen for you, Joseph?
Well, it's not only highly optimized. I think that, we have this idea in our head that we have to have thousands and thousands and thousands of leads in order to build a great business. But the truth of the matter is, if you have one really good qualified lead a week, I mean, in a very short period of time, unless you have a huge staffing, you won't be able to take on any more clients.
Yeah.
It's really that simple because your conversion rates are going to be incredibly high.
Yes. Love that. Yeah.
We don't need so many leads. If you get 100 or 150 really good, high quality leads in a year, you have more business than you can handle unless you start to expand your business.
Yeah, which good, yes.
George,
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
before we part today, and Joseph, thanks for sharing. We always
Yeah,
learn.
thank
from
you very much.
Before we part today, what are some upcoming events on the docket for us to be aware of?
My birthday's in July.
Okay.
So what's coming up, guys? We have the launch course is coming up at the end of this month. It's the 26th, 27th, and 28th of April. If you have anyone in your world who you think might be interested, I would be thrilled to meet and speak with them. You have all you've all had positive experiences. You're among our most engaged members. So if you have anyone that you think I should be speaking with, please let me know. We also have, I'll have to go and look on the calendar. The calendar is up to date. We have some upcoming webinars. And now that I have this go through the manuscript off my plate, I'll be focusing my attention on those events, Larry, as well as events as in webinars. I should have asked you to qualify the question.
Oh, yeah, I was actually thinking webinars and exactly.
And there's the opportunity for you guys, if you want to, if you have a topic on which you would like to present to the community, and have it recorded and preserved in perpetuity, so you can use it. Other people will be able to view it. We'll promote it. Please send me an email, and there's a form in the community on that, and I'd love to help you put that on, support you putting that on. My commitment to the market is that I will put on one substantive webinar a month, because I don't want to overload. Barry and I have this conversation. Your job isn't to come to the Growth Drive community and do, watch webinars, participate in webinars. Our commitment to the market is to do one substantive webinar monthly, and to have one of our members do one webinar a month. That's one every 2 weeks. That'll be substantive. I want to make sure that the quality of information and the knowledge we share stays high quality and high value. So,
and looking, George, at the calendar, I just went to Growth Drive live events, event calendar. April 12th is a masterclass on implementing a proven sales process.
yes. And that is that sheet that I just showed you guys. And it's proven. It's, a sales process isn't magic. There are a lot of other ingredients that go into it, but it is a good recipe for doing what Joseph just described, which is when you have someone who comes and says, yeah, I think I'd like to talk to you. You either may have a service that might help me, or you're one of the few people I'm looking at. What do we do? What are the activities that we do to move them either in one meeting or in several to becoming a client? So that teaser. Thank you, Larry.
And I see also May 17th, the advanced full day training on facilitation skills and execution leadership.
Yep. And that is, oh, okay, Phil,
Gotta run.
thank you.
See you
Talk
guys.
soon. Yes, Larry. That's a big one.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good.
So, Joe, you're muted.
I think Joe's mouth is moving, but there's no audio.
Period.
Nope, not yet.
Still
I'm gonna
not
have to-
there.
Give Joe a chance to
microphone
not
should
have
be-
to pop. Nope. That's okay. I'm sorry. Mike had to drop. Guys, anything in closing? Any other questions? Great conversation. I love these. Thank you all for participating. I really appreciate it. Barry, I'll pick up the phone and I'll give you a call a little later today. You around?
Thanks.
Okay.
Go ahead and call. I got a busy day, but if I can talk to you when you call, just I'll
Yeah,
certainly.
and if you can't, just push me to
Yeah, I'll
voicemail.
just let you know.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks, man. Guys, thank you very much. Great conversation as always. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Happy holidays, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Take care, be well.
All right. Be well, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Bye.